If you guys can hear me, maybe just type in that chat box, make sure that you can hear me okay and see me okay. If I can get an okay from somebody in the chat box, perfect, awesome. So here's what we're gonna do today. Obviously, you know how to work the chat box. So if questions are being asked, I will just ask you guys to write your answers in the chat box and I can say a couple of them out loud. We'll have a couple of interaction between myself and you guys, and of course Ellie and you guys. So just use the chat box for that, and we can kind of read out your answers. If you do have a question, we'll get to those at the very end. So you'll see once you highlight your screen, there's a Q&A button, and we'll use that to answer those questions. So as you can see, people have already kind of started to do that. So at the end, depending on how much time permits, we will ask as many questions or answer as many questions as we can. And yeah, so you can write that right there. So we'll get started here because it's just past 9. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Thanks for adjusting your schedules. I know that we had to do a quick change yesterday, but Ellie's a busy girl, so we'll make sure that we'll get you guys interested in what we're going to talk about today. So welcome. This is, my name's Christina, and I'm the education coordinator at the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. And we run a free educational program called the Future Hall of Famers Education Program. And has anybody ever seen me come to their school before? Has the Hall of Fame ever been to any of your schools before? Couple no's. Okay, well that's good. That means that you'll be learning something new today. Awesome. So our program is called the Future Hall of Famers Education Program. And basically what we do at the Hall of Fame is we celebrate, we honor, we recognize people from our province of Nova Scotia. And the reason they're in the Hall of Fame is because they're pretty much the best of the best at what they do. And so today you're going to learn a little bit about some of those sport heroes that we have from our Sport Hall of Fame. So first and foremost, for those that haven't been to the Hall of Fame, we are located in the Scotiabank Centre, right in downtown Halifax. So we are right in downtown Halifax in Scotiabank Centre, so where the Mooseheads play, where the Hurricanes play, where the lacrosse team plays, Thunderbirds, concerts happen there, events. It's a really great place for us to be located. We're open during all those Scotiabank Centre events. So the next time you do go there to see something, which I don't know when will be, hopefully soon, we are open for all of those events, as well as Monday to Friday, 10 to 5, and we're open in the summer, July and August, 12 to 4, Monday to Friday as well. And then the best part about our museum is that we are 100% free. So free admission and all kinds of really cool things that you can see when you come to visit us. And I want to just highlight a couple of those things so you get a better idea of where we are. So we've got a couple things here. First and foremost, our Sidney Crosby exhibit, which you can see that bottom left-hand picture there. One of our most famous exhibits. We have Legends Theater, which is where we give presentations, or we have videos going on around the world. Or really I think we always have our exhibits. All our special something new, when you come to this little work, I highly recommend. As soon as we get open, we'll let you know, and you can come down and check it out and see all the cool things. So today I want to talk about Nova Scotia sport heroes. And of course, we have one of them online with us today. So first and foremost, of course, we all know he's not You'll see on the bottom there, I have number 1 on our Nova Scotia. Top athletes all time. So he's one of the more known athletes that we have from Nova Scotia. But another sport hero, from a small town, this is Johnny Miles. He's the only Scotian to win the Boston Marathon twice, which is really an incredible feat. He was also on that top 15 list, and Johnny Miles was voted number 7. Despite coming from a very small town and showing up to that race, he was able to accomplish something that, you know, only a couple people have in the world have accomplished. And he's the only Nova Scotian to accomplish that Boston Marathon and win that race twice, which is really, really amazing. Another athlete that we have from right here in Nova Scotia, and one of our sport heroes, is Karen Furneaux, and she comes to these presentations with me sometimes. I don't know if some of you may have heard her speak before. That wouldn't surprise me. She's active in the community. She's from a small town in Waverley, in the sport of kayak. Karen's a 3-time Olympian. She's a 2-time world champion. She was also number 11 on that top 15 list. And she does a really cool program with us at the Sport Hall of Fame called a Power Program, where she kind of uses this acronym POWER and inspires and encourages you to kind of use some of the tools that she has in her box and help you kind of achieve something, a goal that you have in mind. So Karen Furneaux, one of our another sport heroes that we have here. Another one I wanted to quickly highlight was George Dixon. And some of you might have heard of him before because the George Dixon Center, just down the road actually from the Sport Hall of Fame. And yeah, so he's the first man ever to win more than 2 world boxing titles. And what he's best known for, what we know for him a lot here in Nova Scotia, is that he was credited for inventing shadow boxing and the heavy bag, which is really cool because, of course, athletes, they train with those a lot today, especially the heavy bag. You see lots of boxers especially train with those, or even athletes at the gym. George Dixon also on that top 15 list as number 6. So there are no videos right now, guys. There will be one in a little bit, so just hang tight. And the one of the last heroes I want to talk about was Steve Giles. He used to get so nervous before a race that he would vomit on the side of his canoe before he would actually go to race. And he's, again, from a small town, Lake Echo. Getting over those nerves was a big hurdle for him. But he's a 3-time Olympian. He's also Olympic gold medalist, Pan American Games gold medalist, world champion. Really, really cool story. And he still works and lives here in Nova Scotia. And just an amazing story. And he's one of those another sport heroes that we have from right here in our province. Now, I know I kind of went through those heroes a little bit quickly, but I do really want to get you guys to one of the main heroes that we have here today, and that's Ellie Black. Now, all those heroes that I talked about, the Sidney Crosbys, the Karen Furneaux, they all have really cool stories. You know, it's about having a dream and something that they wanted to accomplish. And in order to get there, they had to work really hard. And that's what all of those athletes did. But they did have that dream, and they were able to do that despite being from this small province of Nova Scotia. Now, before I introduce Ellie, I'm going to try and play this video for you guys. It might be a little choppy, so just bear with me for a little bit, but we'll see how it works out. So that's a little video of Ellie, and I'm really happy that we have her on this call today. I'll ask her to just join in on the video, and she's going to tell you guys a little bit about some really cool stuff that she's doing right now, and of course a couple of things that she has been doing so far, and how she got to where she is today. So let's please welcome Miss Ellie Black.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? Maybe you can put it in the chat. Yep. Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. So thank you, Christina, for that great introduction and for letting everyone know a bit about the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. So I do some work with the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. I go with Christina to some schools, and I'll speak with her and share my story and a bit of the background and some things that I've learned over the way, and some things that I hope that you guys can take and learn it from your own experiences. So I do gymnastics. I do artistic gymnastics, so that means I do the floor, the vault, the bars, and the beam. And I've been doing gymnastics since I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I'm 24 now, so I've been doing it for a long time. And I started here in Halifax. So I was born in Halifax, raised here, and I train at Halifax Alta Gymnastics Club. And yeah, like I started doing gymnastics because I absolutely loved it. I was very, very passionate about it. And that's kind of one of the first things I want you guys to think about is, do you have something that you're passionate about? You may have a couple things that you're passionate about. It may not be part of sport. It may be in school. It may be dancing or artistry. It could be really anything, but finding something that you're passionate about. And so I didn't just start with gymnastics. I started doing many sports. Are people doing okay with the camera? I'm not sure if people can all see me. I think some people can, but just maybe check around, and I think you can pull up the Zoom camera. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so I started doing lots of different sports. I did sports in school. I also did figure skating for a long time. And I was doing figure skating and gymnastics together for a long time. And then I kind of came to a choice where I wanted to pursue gymnastics because that was the one that I loved so much. And so that's kind of, yeah, going back to that thing of finding what you're passionate about. And you may not have found it already, and that's fine. And it may take you a little bit of time, but just something to think about, especially right now that we're at home and we have some time to try some new things and be able to explore and test out some different things we may enjoy doing. So we may not be able to get out and do our regular sports, but we can definitely get out there and, well, in our houses and try some new things that we may not have time for. So yeah, I've started competing in gymnastics. I competed provincially, so I competed with the clubs in Nova Scotia, and then I kind of worked my way up to competing more at the national level. And this kind of took me a while. You know, I was pretty good in Halifax. I was pretty good in Nova Scotia. I wasn't really the greatest at the beginning, but I just loved competing, and I loved being a part of the gymnastics world. Like gymnastics, you could learn so much. It's such a challenging sport. There are so many different skills you can learn. So it's very exciting. It pushes you to work hard, and you also learn a lot of great things that you can take away from sport and use in either if you go to another sport, or you can use it outside of your sporting career for later on in your life. So I think for me, you know, it was learning that it's kind of about the journey and about the process and about learning along the way. So as I said, it took me a little bit of time to kind of grow and develop and get to that national level. And so I competed at the national championships. And one of my first national championships, like I said, I was pretty good in Halifax, but I wasn't super great on the national level. And when I got there, in my first national championships, I came last. Like I was at the bottom. And for me, my coach, we weren't very upset about that, because going to the national championships, the most important thing was getting that experience, being able to see what all the other girls were doing there, and being able to learn and grow from that experience. So my first nationals was much of a learning experience, but it motivated me by seeing those other athletes, seeing how hard they work, seeing the skill level that they did, to come home and work really hard for the next year. And so I worked really hard, and I went back and I went to the national championships again, and I ended up coming like third last. So I was still near the bottom of the pack. I had made some improvements from the year before, but sometimes things take a little bit of time. And I realized that, when I'm working hard, other people are working hard as well. So you just got to keep putting in the time, the effort, but enjoying that process as you go. So I worked really hard again, and I came back to the national championships, and I ended up winning the balance beam in the junior category. So it was very exciting for me. It was my second year junior. Like I said, when I started, I was not very good. I was near the bottom of the pack. And I think this was a learning lesson for me that sometimes when you're trying to improve at something or you're trying to get better, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes. Sometimes you have to take the time and be patient. And sometimes that's a very long example. It's not always going to take you a couple years, but sometimes to reach some of your big, big goals, it will take time. And so that kind of leads into one of the second things that I wanted to talk about is having goals. I think it's really important to have goals. Even in days right now where we're at home, I think it's important to have little daily goals. I think it is important to have goals for the week. I think it's good to have goals that we can work towards because it keeps us motivated and excited. And then you have something to strive for. And then you can feel really proud of yourself when you achieve those goals. And your goals can change along the way. They don't always have to stay the same. So I've had lots of goals that have changed and maybe taken a different path, but those things are the things that inspire me to keep working hard. And especially on those days where you're maybe not as motivated, you remember why you're doing it and what you're working towards. So having goals is really important. It's setting something that you want to achieve and setting your mind to that, to work hard. So along the journey and along the road, sometimes there's ups and downs, sometimes there's some bumps. Something that I would give advice to everyone out there is that the journey never goes exactly as you plan. It's not just this straight linear line. It is like a mountain. It's ups and downs. You're going to go through all different turns along the way. So I think it's good to know that is normal and that will happen. And it's just making sure that you're working through those obstacles and those bumps and those things along the way. So some of those things for me as a gymnast become injuries. Injuries can sometimes happen. Mental blocks. Sometimes you have things that you're faced with, like the coronavirus, where we are at home right now and I'm not able to go train more than normal. I have to do my training at home. I have to adjust my whole plan. We're doing these Zoom meetings instead of in person and face to face. So, there's always going to be these kind of obstacles that we can't plan for and we're not sure, but we have to take it in stride. And so part of that is gaining confidence in yourself and your ability to handle those situations. So knowing that those things are normal and we will all get through it together. So some examples of those that I've had is in 2011, we hosted the Canada Games here in Halifax. And so for those of you who don't know what the Canada Games are, maybe you've had a friend or a family member, maybe you've known someone who has competed at the Canada Games before. But basically the Canada Games is it's like a mini Olympics for Canadian athletes. So it's really great if you ever get a chance to try for the Canada Games if you are in sport. You get to meet people from all different sports in your province, but as well people in different sports and from different provinces all across Canada. And then you get together and you kind of stay in this little village and you compete. And so it's a really, really cool experience. So we hosted those here in Halifax in 2011. And those were going to be one of my biggest competitions ever. And I was very excited because they're here in my hometown and I really wanted to make a splash and show what I could do. And I ended up breaking my big toe a couple weeks before. So I wasn't able to compete. And that was one of my first big injuries. I actually had to get surgery, and I wasn't able to compete at this big competition that was one of my big goals. And it was quite sad, and I was upset, and I was frustrated. And I think one of the biggest things was that I was just so upset, and that I couldn't compete and I couldn't do my sport for a little while. And so that injury kept me out for about 6 months, which is quite a long time for gymnastics. That was the time that I actually wasn't fully able to train. So I remember getting my surgery, but being home for about a day, and then I was back in the gym. I couldn't do anything. I just went in for, even 10 minutes at the beginning, an hour, just to sit there and cheer on my teammates. And I could work on some things that I wasn't good at. So even though I was injured, I was able to work on my strength, work on my flexibility and my artistry. So if you see on the screen right now, there's a picture of me doing a switch leap on the beam. And so in gymnastics, we need to have good flexibility for our leaps and jumps. We need to have good artistry for our floor routine and our beam routine. And that's why it's like artistic gymnastics. And I'm typically a power gymnast. I'm someone who's very strong, powerful. I'm not great at the flexibility and the artistry side. And that's something that I've had to work really hard at. And so while I was injured, I was actually able to get better at these things than I was before. And I actually became out of that injury stronger no matter what. Or like, I guess, than I was before, because instead of just sitting at home and not really doing anything and staying in this negative mindset, I was able to change my mindset to, okay, I have been injured, and what can I do to try and get back as strong as possible? And how can I make this recovery go as smooth as possible? And yeah, what can I do to make this a positive thing? So I was able to work on some things that I wasn't good at. And I was really bad at uneven bars. In the 2012 Olympics, when I competed, I didn't even compete on the bars. And then 2016 Olympics, I was actually able to compete on the bars. And actually, that was one of my best events at the Olympics. So when I was younger, I got told like I should just not work on bars. I shouldn't compete them. Because I was really, really bad at them. And so just because you aren't good at something at the beginning, it doesn't mean you can't improve. So something that I've learned is that, we go back to that example of me working hard for years to try and get better at the national championships. Sometimes things don't happen overnight. You just have to be patient, and you have to stick with it and keep working hard. But it doesn't mean you can't improve. So through that injury, I improved a lot on my flexibility, my artistry, and my uneven bars, because I wasn't able to do a lot of the leg events. And so things started to kind of build from there. And going into my first Olympic year, which was in 2012, I just come off this year of full injury. And I was just this little girl from Nova Scotia who no one really knew at the beginning of January. I wasn't on the national team. I was just one of the girls competing, not a known girl. And then 6 months later, I had got that 5th spot on the Olympic team. And so I think that just because you might be behind, maybe you're not the front runner, maybe you feel like you're behind, but you still have to have confidence in yourself that you have the ability to succeed. And you have the mindset that, if you work hard, things can fall into place and you can make that happen. So over the years, I've competed at a lot of different competitions. I've competed at world championships many times. I think about 6 times now. I've competed at the Pan American Games. So I competed in those in Toronto in 2015. And I actually won 5 medals there. And one of those being the gold medal in the all-around competition. And I was the first non-American since 1983 to win the all-around competition at a Pan American Games. And so that was very historic for me because I was able to compete in Toronto with all my friends and family there to come watch. I actually brought my medal out to show you guys. So this was my gold medal from the Pan American Games in Toronto, from the all-around competition. And that was very special for me. So I ended up winning 5 medals there. So I kind of made some history, and I've had many competitions like the Commonwealth Games. I've had like the World Championships. I've competed at the University Games, many World Cups, and I think it's important. Like, it's great to have medals and it's great to have that success, but as well, I wanted to share with you guys that it doesn't always, like, success doesn't always mean you have a medal. Success can be defined in many different ways. And so for me, I've learned over the years that actually making mistakes is almost more valuable to growing and to learning. If you don't ever make any mistakes, you don't know how to get better for the next time. And the mistakes motivate you, and you can learn from those, and say, okay, what happened? How can I make the change and not make this mistake? Or what can I do next time to improve and get better and be able to stay on that beam, or not fall off the bars, or get that 100 on my test, those kind of things. So I think that's important to know. Is I've had lots of success that people have seen, but there's also been lots of mistakes and lots of things that I've learned from that have helped me grow, and that's important. And I think it's looking at those mistakes as a learning experience and not so much as a bad thing. Mistakes are important for us to grow and to learn. So it is okay to make mistakes, and it's important for you guys, though, when you make mistakes, to look at it and try and make it a learning and growing experience. Because at the 2016, so this is one more example I'll give you guys, at the 2016 Olympics in Rio, so right here actually, and this photo that's on your screen, during this beam routine, I had a back tuck with a full twist, and it was a super hard beam routine. I was working really hard because I wanted to make the Olympic balance beam final. And we started our first qualifications, our first day of competition off on the balance beam. And I fell off on that back full twist. And I was really upset because the Olympics only come around every 4 years. And I had this goal of hopefully making that Olympic final on the balance beam. And I knew when I fell off, I wasn't going to be able to make that final. So I think it was important for me in that moment to finish off my beam routine as strong as possible, not only just for me, but for my team and for my teammates. And also to prove to myself that even if you have a mistake, you can get back up and you can still be strong. And you don't let those mistakes or those falls define you. So I got back up, I finished a really good beam routine. I actually finished off a great competition. And then I was able to go back into all-around competition 2 days later. And I came 5th in the all-around competition, which was a historic record for any Canadian gymnast. No Canadian gymnast has ever placed that high in the all-around at the Olympics. So I think I went back out there and I was able to learn from my fall the first day. I stayed on the beam in my all-around competition. I nailed the back full, so I was able to learn from that mistake from day 1 and take that over to day 2, where I was able to be successful. So lots of things that happen in gymnastics we can learn from. And I've had lots of great experiences since then. One more I'll mention, I had competed at the World Championships in Montreal in 2017. And this was a massive competition where all my friends and family came to watch. And it's not every day we get to compete in Canada at a big competition like this. And I actually ended up winning the silver medal in the all-around competition there, which no Canadian has ever won a medal at the World Championships and the all-around before. So that was a historic record. And this is the World Championships medal that I won. So that was very, very special because all my family and friends were there watching and supporting me. And they say that the hole in the center of the medal is so that you can see the heart of the champion, which I thought was very, very nice. Except when I wear it, it goes down to my belly button. So, but yeah, that was a very, very special medal for me. And since then, you know, I've had a couple years of great competition, and I really am still doing gymnastics because I absolutely love it, and I take it day by day. And I was working towards the Tokyo Olympic Games this summer, and then we got this big curveball. And actually, at the World Championships just in October, I ended up injuring my ankle. So I landed a vault a little funny, and I had to get surgery. And so I just came out of recovery off of that ankle injury. And I was working really hard to go to the Olympics this summer, but the Olympics have been postponed for another year. So just like me, I'm sure everyone right now is going through different changes. And what I'm doing during this time is I'm trying to just stay as positive as I possibly can, staying active. I'm treating this almost like it was another recovery from my injury. I'm not able to do my training, but I'm able to work on my strength. I'm able to work on my flexibility. I'm able to work on my artistry. I'm able to work on a lot of things and take the time to do the things that I don't normally have time to do. And so when we come out of this and we're able to get back to normal training and normal life, you feel like you've put in some work and it's easy to transition back. So yeah, what I've been doing is I've been trying to keep active, keep exercising, doing some workouts from home, still getting outside and walking my dogs. I have been trying to do some creative things like working on puzzles, coloring, cooking, trying some new recipes, really doing the things that I love and I enjoy, as well as reading and learning. And I think it's important to have a schedule every day. I want you guys to, you know, wake up in the morning and you have your time where you eat your breakfast and you go and you do your schoolwork, and then you have some creative time, you have some family time. And I think it's really important to keep that schedule and know that we're all kind of going through this together and we will get through it. And the most important thing is that we stay positive. We find things that we're passionate about. So whether you found that or not, we can really work on trying some new things, getting out of our comfort zone. I haven't played the piano in so many years, and I'm going to start trying that again just because I have a little bit more time to do it. So I think it's important to spend time with our families, still work on exploring creative things in our minds, and also learning, and still really be trying to improve ourselves and do our schoolwork and get out there and still get some fresh air. But just having a good balance, I think, is important during these days. And something that I've really helped find that it helps me is that waking up in the morning, making sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day, you're fueling your body with good food, because that will help your brain to function better, and you will feel a lot better when we're stuck in the house all day. And so yeah, making sure we're getting enough sleep, I think, is very important. I think that's the number one thing is sleep, good hydration, good food, treating your body nicely, making sure you're still learning and you're going through your normal schedule and routine every day. So those are some things that have been helping me during this time. I'm still thinking about my goals every day. So having goals for the day, goals for the week, goals for the month. And I have my big goal which got changed to a year from now. And that's still something I'm going to work on, but it's kind of just taking it day by day. So that's a bit about my experience, and hopefully you guys can learn some stuff. But yeah, especially if we're in quarantine right now, we're in our houses a lot more than normal. I think it's just important to have a positive mindset. Try and find some stuff that you enjoy to do, you're passionate about. Try and think about those little goals along the way and know that we will get through it. You just got to keep working hard, keep trying, especially on those days where you don't feel motivated. Set yourself a positive goal, set yourself something you want to achieve, and you can do it, and we can get through this together. So yeah, maybe we can Christina's back.
Hi. Great job, Ellie. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll just mention everybody on the screen is Ellie's Twitter and Instagram. Please follow her. She does some really cool posts. She's talking about how she likes to cook and stuff right now. So she's posting on Instagram a couple of her recipes and some workouts. And I follow her and I see them and they look delicious. So I recommend you follow her. We have a couple questions. I'm just going to filter through them because some of them are kind of off topic. So this is a good one though. How many hours a week did you train when you were growing up?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, especially when I started competing, I was only training, a couple hours, like 3 to 4 hours, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And then I started to increase my hours as my level got higher and as I got older. And we always trained after school. So we'd go to school during the day and then we'd go to practice after. And then I worked up to training 5 days a week for 4 hours a day. And then now I pretty much do that as well, except I have a couple little extra sessions on top of that for some workouts and for some extra mental performance and nutrition and that kind of stuff, everything that plays into it. But it was all just about finding a balance between doing your schoolwork and getting your training done and making sure you're resting and fueling your body properly, so you're giving your best chance to have an alert mind and an alert body as well.
Yeah, I think that balance piece is really key. This one's good. In the Olympics, do you ever get to talk to different people from different sports, or do you kind of not have time to do that, or do the days not add up? How does that work?
Yeah, so at the Olympics is very cool. You're in a village. Each kind of country has a building or some share buildings, and it is very cool. There's a meal hall that everyone goes to, and you can meet a lot of people that way. So you can meet people from other countries and other sports. And also in your Canada building, you're staying with all of the Canadian athletes. So you get to meet a lot of people from other sports. And that's how I've met a lot of my Canadian athlete friends across Canada is through the Olympic Games or Pan American Games, where you're in a village setting, because it brings everyone together. And you can also watch their competitions, which is nice. So I found it was really cool in 2012. I met a lot of people. And then over the next few years, I was able to follow their journey. And then at the 2016 Olympics, I was able to watch them compete and feel like I knew them and I had created this friendship and this connection. And, you feel very invested into supporting them in their sports. And I think supporting your teammates is very, very great. It's an amazing thing to do because, you're supporting them, they'll support you back. And then as well, you feel very connected, I guess, in your community and on your team. And so then when you go out there, the experience is just so much more enjoyable. Like the team competition is always my favorite because I know how hard everyone has worked to get there, and you just want everyone to have a great competition and have the most success and the best performance they possibly can, because everyone's worked so hard to get there.
Yeah, definitely. We got a good comment here. I love your positive talk. It's very motivating. What is one big lesson that you've learned while in training?
One lesson that I've learned in training?
What one big lesson that you've learned? Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I would say I try and be as positive as possible. That's probably one of the biggest things I've learned from training. But my coach always used to tell me that 90% of the days are going to be hard or going to be tough. They're not going to be peachy and everything's not going to go exactly the way you want. And it's on those days that you work hard and you put in the time and the effort. I think it's on those days that you make those gains and you build that confidence that you're able to do it. So then when you get to those days where you're feeling good, that all kind of like all that hard work has paid off. And then as well, if you ever get to a competition and you're not feeling great, you have that experience and you have that confidence that you can do it in any kind of circumstance, or you can handle any kind of situation, because every day in training, you're kind of putting yourself in that mindset that no matter what happens, I'm going to work hard to try and put my best foot forward and overcome this, and know that you build this confidence up that you're able to handle no matter what's thrown at you, whether you're not feeling great or you have some sort of injury, you know that you can overcome that.
Yeah, awesome advice. Who was your coach?
So my coach
is your coach?
Yeah, my coach growing up, his name was Keiji Yamanaka, and he still coaches a little bit, but he's basically retired. So he coached me basically since I was starting out. And then I kind of transitioned. Right now, my coach, his name is David Kikuchi. So he's actually a 2-time Olympian as well. He went to the Olympics for gymnastics, and he trained at my club. And he was actually one of those inspirational people for me in my sport. He went to the Olympics. I saw him. He trained at my club. And he was one of those inspirations that made me want to compete at the Olympics and show that it doesn't matter where you come from. He was from Halifax, and he was able to get there, and he was able to have great accomplishments. So I thought, why can't I do that? And that's something important for me these days is being from Halifax, training here, showing that you can be one of the best in the world. You can get to that highest level. You can achieve what you want. It doesn't matter if you're from a smaller province or a smaller city. You can be from a bigger city. You can be from wherever. As long as you have those dreams and you work hard, you can make that happen.
Yeah, and David's also inducted into the Sport Hall of Fame. Just a fun fact for everyone out there.
Yeah.
So we're kind of running out of time here, but we'll do one last question. And this is a really good one. How do you find the motivation to keep going if you didn't get to the place that you wanted?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think sometimes we set goals and maybe we don't quite achieve them, or the road takes us into a different place. Sometimes I've had lots of things that I've tried to learn, skills or different routines, and they haven't actually ended up working out. And it's hard because you put a lot of time and effort into that. But the way I see it is that, it's not all of that time and that effort and everything you learned along that way or that path is so valuable. And you can really use that to help you on the next thing that you're trying to achieve, the next goal you're trying to get to. Whatever you've done is so valuable and so useful. And so I think it's important to look back at the journey and the path. And it's not always about what we achieved at the end. It's about that process and seeing how you've grown and how much you've come. So I think for me, like keeping that motivation to keep going, even though I didn't achieve something or I didn't get to exactly where I wanted, I know that I've either grown a lot, I've made improvements, I've actually become better. And even though I didn't have the results I wanted, I'm still really proud of all of those other things. And then I still try and set goals. I try and learn from that process and that experience and use that to try and help me get to that place that I want to be at, get to those goals, whatever that is that I'm trying to achieve. I think about why I'm doing it and how I'm going to get there and keep building on all that good work that I've done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. Even though you are competing right now, we know that you're still working hard to achieve that goal of going to the Olympics next year. So luckily that's still in the books for you. For the viewers, the last thing I want to tell you guys about is just to check out our website, because we have some really cool activities on there that you can do and you can enter to win our contest. There's an education booklet at the very end of the lesson plan for teachers, part of the website. Scroll down, click on that. There's activities inside that booklet, and then you can enter a contest to win this awesome, really cool mountain bike from Sport Wheels. All kinds of fun stuff on our website, so I really encourage you to go check it out, NSSHF.com. Please follow Ellie and follow us on social media as well. We will be hosting, I'm sure, a couple of more of these with some other really cool guest speakers, so stay tuned for that. All of this will be updated Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Ellie, thank you again very much for taking time out of your schedule to do this. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I will be sending this out. It is recorded, so I will be sending this out to the people that weren't able to come onto the call today. So not to worry, everybody will be able to see this amazing chat that Ellie put on for us today. So thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and thank you, Ellie. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, guys.